I'm Josh Busby. I'm an assistant professor here at the LBJ School, and I'm also the Crook Distinguished Scholar at the Strauss Center for National Security and Law. And the title of my book is Moral Movements in Foreign Policy. I did a second bachelor's degree in the UK in the early 90s in development studies, and I was involved in environment and development advocacy while I was there. And one of the campaigns in particular I remember well, it was a campaign to try to prevent the Nigerian government from hanging the celebrated writer and environmental activist Ken Saro-Wiwa. And in the end, the campaign had diverse targets: the Nigerian government, Shell Oil Company, and the British government. But in the end, the campaign failed. He was hanged. And it led me to think, well, why did the campaign fail? Was it something about our organization? Was it about the nature of the issue, or was it something about the actors we were targeting? And that led to broader interest in the issue of why some campaigns are successful in some places and not in others. The book is in a sense about the campaigns, but it's also about states. And the initial title, that's now the title of chapter 1, is called States of Grace. And in a sense, the book is as much about state behavior, what governments are prepared to do, as it is about what movements are able to do. Well, in my book, I focus on three main factors: the intersection of costs, values, and gatekeepers. And what I mean by that is, I think campaigns are most likely to succeed when the costs of what they're asking for are low. But that's not the only thing. It also depends on, have they framed their message to fit with the values of the countries that they're targeting, and then finally, are there supportive gatekeepers in power? Gatekeepers are sort of actors who have the power to block or at least slow down the policies that they're advocating. So are there gatekeepers that support what the advocates want? Now, the interesting cases are situations in which you actually have, you're advocating for something that would be quite costly for governments to do, but it's also in keeping with the values that the country believes in. And in those cases, you have a situation where costs and values are in tension. And in those situations, I think that the supportive gatekeepers are crucially important, because they can decide, in this case, it's more important to choose principles over costs. Well, I wanted to choose cases of principled advocacy, of advocates whose primary motivation was pursuing right and wrong in the world rather than their own material interest. And I wanted to choose important cases from the post-Cold War era, cases that I cared about, that I thought that were important for policy and sort of future of the world, but also ones where there was variation on outcomes, cases where movements were successful in some places and not in others. Japan supported action to address climate change, but didn't support the International Criminal Court. Oversimplification of complex problems, as we've seen maybe with Darfur case, that it's easy to frame issues in terms of white hats and black hats, good guys and bad guys, but some of the situations out there are muddier than that. There certainly may be bad guys out there, but there might not be as many good guys as we'd like to see, and trying to use the power of celebrity to mobilize the mass public for causes that are far away, that may be more complex than just good guys and bad guys, could make things problematic. Different readers will take away different messages. So for your casual reader who's kind of interested in the subject matter, they might like the story that pop star Bono starts talking with curmudgeon Senator Jesse Helms of North Carolina and gets him to cry when they talk about Africa. But for people who are more interested in the academic side of things, I think the contribution I'm trying to make is states, governments in some situations will choose moral action over costs, a modest amount of cost, because they think it's the right thing to do, or somehow they've positioned themselves where they feel like they need to do the moral thing. And I think that is an important takeaway, that those costs that governments are willing to take to accept the demands of campaigners aren't unlimited, but they can be, under certain circumstances, quite significant. And I think that's an important contribution.